And it is done. 30-day carnivore challenge completed, in the bag. Well, I guess I shouldn't jump ahead of myself. It's 4 p.m. on June 30th, so maybe I'll go crazy in the next 8 hours and ruin everything, but I doubt it, because I've made it through 29 and a half days of consuming nothing but meat products and occasional butter and eggs. Chicken, steak, bacon, sausage, I think there was a little turkey, a little ham in the mix, and so plenty of eggs and some butter, and I did not cheat at all. It's all accomplished, it's all in the bag, and probably not something I'm ever going to do again, and I'm looking forward to getting back to something more resembling dietary normalcy starting tomorrow. Really, probably I'll just start at midnight tonight, because I'm looking forward to it. I'm not gonna lie. Maybe not even looking forward to eating junk food. Just looking forward to like some goddamn fruit at this point. I'm all prepped. I got in my fridge right over there. I got some apples, some strawberries, some bananas ready to go. And I know in town here where I can actually pick some apricots for free, so I think I might go and do a little apricot picking tomorrow. Might be a fun little activity. But yeah, the 30-day carnivore challenge is functionally completed. It's close enough to completed that I feel I can comment on it and give some thoughts, positive and negative about it. It's been an interesting experience, just for me, in terms of learning kind of how this stuff affects you, how it affects your mind, how it affects your weight goals, how it affects your body. It's maybe been the most interesting kind of dietary experiment I've done, and I've tried a few others. I've tried extended water fasts and intermittent fasting and keto, and the opposite. I've tried to become morbidly obese as a joke before, but this has in some ways been the most interesting. Don't know if that necessarily, implies or says the most successful, but, it's been an experience in one way or another. But you know what? Rather than just kind of rambling on nonsensically, since this is the season finale. Oh, and sorry about the bright light back there. I know it's a little annoying, but I wanted to record this today on the 30th, and I don't know if I'll be able to get the opportunity once the sun has gone down. So, pardon my amateurish lighting on this obviously otherwise very professional endeavor. Really just a work of Martin Scorsese here with this vlog series. But let's just kind of go through. I just scribbled out a little, speaking of professionalism, I just scribbled out a little list here of the pros and the cons of having gone through this little experiment over the last 30 days. And I'll as I get into that, I'll also throw up a little that was gross. Throw up. I'll toss up a little before and after a profile picture of a little video I took of myself on the first, and one I just took a few minutes ago, so you can kind of compare and contrast. See 158 pounds at the beginning of the month, and now 30 days later 141 pounds. Yes, I did lose a few pounds in the last few days, despite, well, we'll get into it later, but yep, 17 pounds down in 30 days. So you want to just get the numerical tally of how the carnivore diet has worked out. There you go, 17 and 30. So anyway, on to the pros and cons list. Starting with the number 5 pro, and working, from weakest to best. So this is the last one I do will be the biggest kind of pro of the carnivore diet. So starting with number 5, first off, save money on food. Now this, maybe I should put an asterisk by asterisk. How do you pronounce it? 34 years, I don't know how to pronounce that word. Well, I never claimed this was an intelligent blog, but so this one could vary from person to person. The initial blog where I read about the 30-day carnivore challenge, he actually described it as he actually ended up spending more money on food throughout the 30 days, which I think because he was going and buying like nice steak and stuff all the time. If I went and bought nice steak and stuff all the time, then yeah, I'm sure I would have used quite a bit of more money too. But for me, I actually saved a ton of money, because I would just go out and buy 18 packs of eggs for $1.50, several 18 packs of eggs, and get those big ass mamba jumbo, like 5-pound rotisserie chickens from a Sam's Club, which is functionally the same as the ones from Costco. I believe they have the same suppliers. And as those chickens and eggs kind of formed the bulk of my diet over the last 29 and a half days. There were weeks when I spent, just enormously little, or I should say the opposite of enormously little, vanishingly little money on food. I'm talking, $10 on food for an entire week of, food consumption. It helps that I mostly just drank water during the whole time. But the paycheck, the wallet hasn't been hurting, for culinarily wise this month. I'll just say that. So yeah, that's one little bonus of it. But like I said, this can vary from person to person. If you want to get a ton of steak, literally the exact opposite could happen to you. And speaking of things where it might vary from person to person, for my number 4 pro on the 30-day carnivore challenge and the carnivore diet in general, I'll go for a streamlined diet, by which I mean both the decision of deciding what you're going to have any given meal, any given day, and also food preparation time. Now, I say this could vary from person to person because if you're someone who really wants to put an effort to, just really nicely prepare, just really sumptuous, well-cooked, well-seasoned, expert meals of meat and steak and fish, if that's what you're into, and chicken, maybe this wouldn't be the case. But for me, I spent this entire month put together, I probably spent less time cooking than I would in any given just week by itself. Probably because I'm, lazy and have a poor taste in food and, life in general. So I would mostly just use my microwave rather than my oven. I use the frying pan sometimes too because I'd cook stuff in butter. But a lot of the times my meal preparation was just like that. Like I'd, a full day, like 5 minutes of meal prep, so that made things pretty simple. I never had to think too much about what to eat. I would usually a lot of days I would just do chicken. I would have cold chicken in the day and call that my lunch, and hot chicken at night and call that my dinner. What can I say? The rotisserie chicken is pretty well seasoned already. Just toss a little herbes de Provence, a little hot sauce, a little garlic powder on there. You're pretty good to go. But I did kind of try out some scrambled egg recipes this month that were fun. In Ian Fleming, his short story collection, Octopussy and the Living Daylights, in the short story 007 in New York, he actually includes a full recipe for scrambled eggs that are the literary character of James Bond's favorite scrambled eggs. And it's actually a no milk recipe, so it was perfect. It's just like a shitload of butter in a pan, kind of melted, and then you put just a whole bunch of eggs in. And part of the carnivore diet is eat whatever amount of food you want. So I would just do like 10 eggs in one meal, just like 10 scrambled eggs. You put them in with the melted butter and you stir continuously over like a very low heat. It takes a little while longer, but it's not like a difficult, you just stand over the stove like an idiot, just kind of swirling your liquidy eggs around for a little while. And eventually it kind of starts to firm up just a touch, and you want to take them out if you want to do it James Bond style when they're still relatively moist. You don't want no dry scrambled eggs. And you stir a little more butter in, salt and pepper well, and it forms almost something, it's more like a custard than like the usual American style scrambled eggs, like a very thick stew. Like you could almost eat it with like a spoon rather than a fork. So I've been doing that for the last couple weeks and kind of having fun with that. It would probably taste great on toast, but I'm an idiot, so I'm still gonna stick with the keto diet for a while now, so I can't try it on toast yet, but one day I will, and I think it should be pretty good. Apparently it's James Bond's favorite food, so he's a classy man. So those kind of top 2 pros, or I guess bottom 2, number 5 and number 4 pros, more kind of personalized to me. The saving money and the streamlined diet and cooking process, it could be different for other people. But so let's move on to number 3. The number 3 pro of the 30-day carnivore challenge for me has been rarely being hungry, and a lot of that is just literally because of the amount of food. You can eat whatever amount you want on the carnivore diet, provided you stay within the allowed food groups. So because of that, you eat enough that you're rarely hungry. But even on top of that, I kind of feel like your body uses the meat like in a more efficient way than it might use carbs, for example, or even fiber, even fruits and vegetables. So you're pretty much always in kind of a good state of your body having the fuel it needs. It's difficult to describe really unless you've done it for a while. It's almost like it's a different sensation in the way that your hunger and fullness cues have probably worked your whole life if you've never done anything like that. It's like, and there's a counter to this about your fullness cues also that I'll talk about in the cons section. But pros wise, yeah, I never was like, oh man, I'm starving. Not in the morning, not at midday, not in the evening. At a certain point, like a little fuel gauge will go off in your brain that's like, hey, I require fueling now. Let's go grab something. But I never felt like a uncomfortable, like a stomach rumbling type feeling that you might feel when you're doing like intermittent fasting or something like that. So in that way, it kind of has a positive mental effect, a positive physical effect, and helps you not, have too much of a snacking urge. That was never really an issue for me in all 29 and a half days. I never was like, oh man, I could really go for a bag of potato chips or some popcorn or some goddamn cookies or something, even worse than that. Yeah, it was pretty much under control. I never really had too much of a sensation of hunger. I always felt pretty good on that level. And with that, let's go on to the number 2 benefit of the carnivore diet. And this one is kind of the most obvious part of anything that includes the word diet, is a fairly rapid weight loss, especially in the first 2 weeks. I talked 17 pounds, 158 to 141 in 30 days, which is, not bad. I mean, I've heard people set their weight loss goals on a diet as like 2 pounds a month. So, you can do better than that. But, I'm not saying anyone needs to try to do 17 pounds a month either, especially if they're already within the healthy BMI. That's a little, yeah, it did work. And like I said, I didn't do any particularly extreme exercises. I tried lifting a little weight. I made some progress there. Nothing remarkable. Anyone who takes weight seriously at all would kick my ass in arm wrestling, no problem. But, I every 2, 3, 4 days, I do 20 minutes of weights. Took some walks. I tried doing some jump roping. Man, that was hard. That kind of kicked my ass. I feel like if I ever want to get in legitimately amazing shape, I think jump roping is actually going to be my main workout, because it's so. Now I understand why in the montage in Creed they were just doing jump roping, because man, that's tricky stuff. But I tried a little of that, but nothing too extreme. I not particularly hardcore exerciser because I'm too lazy. So yeah, with only a modest amount of simple exercise, mostly walking, and just sticking to this diet and eating whatever amount I wanted. I mean, I was eating half of a fucking rotisserie chicken in one sitting. I got 17 pounds down in 30 days. It did. Well, we'll get into this later. It did slow, but I imagine that if I stuck with this for a second month, I doubt I would lose 17. But it could be 10 pretty easily. I imagine if someone, was morbidly obese and they stuck with this for 6 months, I bet they could probably cut their body weight in half. So yeah, in that case, in the diet sense of the word diet, do you lose weight on the carnivore diet, the 30-day carnivore challenge? The answer is yes. So that's number 2. Weight loss does occur. And I wasn't eating to lose weight per se. I was eating to lose weight in that I was restricting the types of food, but I just, like I said, I was eating 10 eggs with lots of butter, half a chicken, a 2-pound chunk of steak, and yeah, weight loss occurred, pretty smoothly at first. And so yeah, the diet part does work. And speaking of diet, we will move on to the number 1 pro of the 30-day carnivore challenge, in my opinion, which is the sugar detox. I feel like I've been, I'll talk about in the con section in regards to food monotony. I'm not going to say I can live the rest of my life eating only, unseasoned chicken breast. I am above these trivial human desires of food. No, not at all. Certainly, if you put a bowl of Cheez-Its in front of me right now, it would be very hard for me to not consume them. But that said, I feel like I've been very, very successful in detaching myself from the need for sugar, which is good because I think that I probably was a sugar addict. I probably would have denied that, at any point in the last few years up through last May of a few weeks ago if you asked me. But yeah, there were times when I was like, I really shouldn't drive to the store and get Bluebell ice cream. I shouldn't spend that money. I shouldn't take the time to do that. I should not put 2,000 calories of dairy and sugar in my body. And I did it anyway because I was addicted. But I've not had the urge to do that in a few weeks. And sometimes I would do that, in like subsequent days, like back-to-back days. So that's been a very good benefit for me personally. I feel like I've really done a good job detaching myself from the need for sugar. I've been around donuts and pastries and cookies and cake in the last days, like at work and stuff, and I've just skimmed right over it. I haven't had any urge to grab any of it. I've been totally chill. The stuff I do have the urge to grab is like if there's like pasta or mac and cheese or pizza or something like that, so that's why I'm not claiming that I've carb detoxed, because I don't believe carb detoxing is a thing, because it's kind of a fundamental group of food. But sugar detox, I think I've done a pretty good job at it, and I think I'm not really concerned about not being able to stick with that going forward. So to me, that is the number one benefit of the 30-day carnivore challenge, personally, is the sugar detox. But that's not to say that all is well in the 30-day carnivore challenge land, because now we're going to get into the top 5 cons, the top 5 negatives, and it to some extent, I will admit, and we'll kind of sum up at the end, maybe these negatives kind of outweigh the positives, but let's go into it just kind of one at a time. Now, a few of these will be kind of the inverse of the positives we talked about. And the first one, number 5, the not quite as bad con, but a little bit of an issue, is never quite feel fully full. Now, I do not have a PhD or a doctorate in human biology, so don't treat me as the final source on this, but I have a theory about why this is, which is that meat is denser than like bread, than carb products. So it maybe sits in the bottom of your stomach a little more, so you feel a little more full. But it only sits at the bottom, so you don't quite get the same full tummy feeling as you might get with carbs, with fruit and vegetable, because it's a little denser in your stomach. So you hit a point of, I no longer require to eat. I don't want to eat anymore. I've had enough chicken, I've had enough steak, I've had enough eggs, I've had enough bacon, I've had enough ham, probably I've had enough fish, you've had the fish, but there's something psychological about that, oh yeah, that hit the spot feeling when you finish off a nice plate of pasta or something, or even like meat with carbs on the side, like potatoes or bread or whatever. On the carnivore diet, I feel like I never quite got that. And, at a certain point, it does kind of not feeling, like I said, you don't feel hungry particularly, which is good. 99% of the humans who have ever lived from the caveman days up through the early 1900s would probably envy the not having to feel hungry part of it. So I'm not like, woe is me here, but, if you're someone who lives in, the modern day first world, then, you probably enjoy the feeling of feeling full, relatively frequently, probably too frequently if you're an American. And I have not really gotten that feeling in 30 days. There was one night when I had like some chicken wings without, ranch like I usually have, obviously, but had some chicken wings, and then I think I had like some steak with it as well, and like some other crap. I kind of approached the full feeling that night, and I was like, oh, this is nice to kind of feel again. But other than that, you never quite, it's something's missing. Something's not there when you don't have anything besides meat in your stomach, I find. It's hard to describe if you haven't felt it, but try a carnivore diet and you'll know what I'm talking about. It's something's not quite there. It's something's not complete. So let's move on to con number 4 of the 30-day carnivore challenge for me. And that would be another one of the ones that's an inverse from a pro, is that the weight loss slowed dramatically after a little while, after a couple weeks. If you go back and look at the old vlogs I did, I talked about how the weight loss was pretty rapid for first couple weeks, but then it slowed quite a bit. I was losing like 7 pounds between vlogs, 5 pounds, I was losing like 1 pound between vlogs. At one point I gained 2 pounds between vlogs, right? So and then I did lose a little right at the end, just the last few days. I went from 144 to 141. So at a certain point I did lose a little bit again, but yeah, I at a certain point that's why I wonder what would have happened going into month 2 and so on, which I'm not gonna do. No, this is gonna be done in a few hours when I hit midnight, but yeah, I wonder if I would have kept going or if it would have slowed more or what would have happened. But yeah, so that's just if you're ever thinking about doing the carnivore diet, carnivore challenge, that's something to be cautious of, is that the weight loss might kind of slow down after a couple weeks. And number 3 con of the carnivore challenge, this is a little bit of a funny one. This isn't so much about food or your own weight or body or what. It's social awkwardness. Yeah, it's you don't even think about it necessarily, but there are so many times I've had to turn down food, both in the sense of no, at this meal you're cooking for me, I'll just take the meat. Nope, none of the sides you took time to nicely prepare. I can't have any of that. It's just people offering you, hey, you want a slice of pizza? Hey, you want some of these chips? Hey, you want some of this? You want some of that? Like someone at one point like made me a little like Egg McMuffin thing, and I just had to be like, sorry, I can't have any of that, thanks though. And so it's this kind of ongoing, you'd be surprised how much even for an introvert like me who barely hangs out with people outside of my wife, I still kept encountering these situations. I imagine for an extroverted person it would probably be 10 times worse. And just, yeah, I don't know, sometimes you don't want to explain like your weird diet thing to people act like, I don't know, it's just a little weird, kind of awkward situations. So that's my number 3 con. Now let's get back into more strictly kind of food related stuff with the number 2 con, and that is just probably the most obvious one is food monotony. And this one is fairly self-explanatory. You can probably, I've said before on this vlog that there's things that it's hard to quite know what I'm talking about if you've never experienced it yourself. This one I'm sure you can imagine. There are hundreds of foods out there. I've had about a half dozen of them in the last 30 days. So at a certain point, I'm looking forward to something else. I'm not even saying like looking forward to, tearing into a giant bowl of mac and cheese and like milkshakes and pizza and that kind of stuff. Just having literally a salad, just, some iceberg romaine lettuce, a little chicken in there, some onions, tomatoes, like maybe a sprinkle of cheese, some ranch or some, Italian dressing. Like even that sounds just incredibly delicious to me at the moment. It's just absolutely, like, it might as well be a friggin' like birthday cake. That sounds so good to me right now, which is okay because I'm gonna be allowed to have that in just a few hours, and that's cool. But I can imagine if you were literally trying to do the carnivore diet for like as a lifestyle, right? As like for months, for years, I can imagine it being awful. Just the sheer food monotony, because people take too much pleasure in food, which is why the state of national health is where it is. But that's not to say you shouldn't take some pleasure in food. So that's the kind of the obvious one, is that food monotony. Number 2 con with a bullet, but not the worst thing about doing the carnivore diet or the 30-day carnivore challenge. You know where this is going. The constipation on the carnivore diet is total, complete, all-consuming, terrible, horrific, like nothing I have ever experienced before, ever. In any circumstances, no matter what else was going on in my lifestyle or diet in my 34 years on this planet, I have never had more trouble taking a good solid shit, which is something that it doesn't sound like that big a deal, but when your plumbing stops to this degree, it's surprisingly psychologically draining and physically uncomfortable. I haven't taken a what could be considered a good shit in over 2 weeks now. There's been occasional incidences where a bit of slime kind of oozed out. I know it's too graphic, but if you're thinking about going on a diet, then you should probably know these things going in. Yeah, in the last 29 days, I've taken about, I don't know, what would we say, 4 shits. Almost all of them in the first half of the month, in the first 14, 15 days. In the last 14 days, nope, nothing happens down there. Nothing. Not even any gaseous, extractions. Not even any farting. It's like a cork has been jammed into the wine bottle that is your guts, and it's a total shutdown. Sources online will claim that this is normal on this diet and nothing to be concerned about, as your body is using the fuel you're putting into it more efficiently. I don't doubt that there is some truth in this, but I also do doubt that that is the whole truth, because there is a level of discomfort that is plain and undeniable, and just all around not good. Yeah, this is by far the biggest issue with the carnivore diet for me, and honestly the main thing, like everything else I've said, I could roll with and continue trying to do this for a second month, maybe do kind of a lazier carnivore diet where I bring in other animal products like cheese and milk, but I feel a need to begin eating at least vegetables and fiber again to get my body doing the things that a human body is supposed to do again. All right. Yeah, I can't deal with this level of shutdown of these kind of basic biological systems. I cannot deal with it, and if it was just everything else, maybe I could do a second month or even a third month of this. I cannot do any more of this considering this, and I feel like anyone considering this diet should be aware of this. You will stop shitting, period. So that about wrap up the 30-day carnivore challenge for me. I mean, well, I've been recording for a little while here, so not within 8 hours, within about 7.5 hours now, I will happily call this little chapter of my life a wrap. But yeah, but despite my negativity about certain aspects, I will say I also had positive things to say, including just plain old weight loss. So yeah, in that sense, do I think that this fits the category of fad diet? And actually, this is kind of getting into a bigger topic that I could do a whole separate vlog on. I don't really like the phrase fad diet. It's almost always used by weirdos with with an unhealthy agenda, promoting obesity, or that's a fad diet. Here's the thing, is that there can be a diet that you do that's a fad diet that you don't intend on maintaining for literally your whole life, but you can do it for a while to get some weight off and get healthier. Like if a morbidly obese person eats 1,000-calorie diet for several months and reaches a healthy weight, and then increases their calorie intake back to 2,000 and maintains that healthy weight going forward for the rest of their life, did they do a fad diet because they didn't intend on eating 1,000 calories a day forever? No. And similar, I did keto before and lost about 20 to 30 pounds on it, and I haven't put on that weight since. So did I do a fad diet because I didn't stay on keto? So I mean, with all that said, maybe the carnivore diet does fit that category, a category I don't really like, the fad diet category, because yeah, maybe I won't be able to, maybe it's not maintainable. Maybe I'll even put on, some of the weight I got down to. Maybe 141 won't stick to it. So I don't know, because there's just the whole constipation thing. It's just too much of an issue for me to easily overlook as like a little side effect. It's a pretty big side effect. It was a bit debilitating, to be honest. But so maybe as someone who doesn't like the fad diet designation, maybe the carnivore diet is one. So I don't know. So overall, what do I got to give it a rating? I don't know. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. I don't know, a 7 out of 10. I did lose weight on it. I imagine that if I stuck on it, I would continue to lose weight. But yeah, I want to eat some fruits and vegetables and cheese and milk again, and I want to take a shit again. So I can't stick with it going forward. I will be calling it a wrap at midnight tonight, but it's been an interesting experience, and I'm not, negative on the fact that I tried it. I think it's, a neat thing that I gave a shot to, and I'm proud of myself for accomplishing it. No, I'm not. There's nothing to be proud of. I just said I stuffed my face with chicken and eggs. It's not an accomplishment. But yeah, so that about be a wrap on the 30-day carnivore challenge. Although maybe I'll put out one last little bonus video in just a few hours as it truly wraps up. But at least for now, June 30th, 30-day carnivore challenge. We'll call that functionally complete, close enough to complete. And yeah, thanks for watching. If you follow any of the previous vlogs, if you haven't, go back and check them out if you want. But otherwise, I'll catch y'all later. Peace.